In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the things that we've discovered on the Midnight Alpha, so please be in mind that some story spoilers will be happening. With that out of the way, one of the most requested race class combos in the game since the Burning Crusade has been that of the Blood Elf Druids. Now, interestingly enough, Legion even highlighted on the potential of this lore drop happening with the Hunter Artifact questline and Artifact kind of lore behind that for the Marksmanship Hunter bow, Thas'Dorah. If you don't know, Thas'Dorah kind of came from the branch of this magical tree that existed inside of the Eversong Woods. This tree received its magical power thanks to the Sunwell. The roots of the tree, named Thas'Dorah, enabled this tree to be a pseudo-world tree, if not a full world tree. The lore kind of vaguely calls these great trees at the very least. It is also said that this tree is what enabled the Blood Elves to enchant their forest to be a permanent kind of autumn feel. Granted, some sources claim the weather itself is more akin to springtime, even though visually it's obviously kind of like autumn with the red and yellow leaves. As for the story of how this comes into play, Harandar itself is this kind of interesting zone where the roots of all world trees and great trees kind of coexist and commingle. We know that the main conflict, or one of the main conflicts in the zone, is going to be the light itself, with the light directly coming from the Sunwell. We were told that the Dawn Bloom, or the Light Bloom, depending on how it's said or who is speaking about it, comes from the Sunwell itself interacting with nature, and the Sunwell is able to spread deep into Harandar due to the roots of the trees within Quatha Lost that had soaked up the Sunwell's kind of power. We see one of these trees, or at least a new interesting tree, in Lake Harandar of the new revised Quatha Lost. This tree towers over the rest of the forest and has this golden magic kind of woven into its bark. Almost kind of like the Alden-Weald trees, if I'm going to be honest. But interestingly enough, this is not even where the initial tree was supposed to be. Thas'Dorah was said to be kind of in the Deathholm area of the Ghostlands, which is much more south, at least about half of the zone more south, instead of where this new tree is. So it is possible that this new tree is either a seedling or a sprout that came off of Thas'Dorah, or they might retcon it and say that this tree actually is Thas'Dorah and that's where it's always been instead of in the Deathholm area, which would be interesting to say the least. Now, deep in Harandar, we can also see these same light-studded bark trees on the roots coming into the zone, allowing the light to penetrate. But it doesn't just stop there with the light entering this new kind of Harandar zone, and the light clearly being a force that mixes well with nature, with the plant monsters, the Root and Hadai, that have the light, and the light bloom spreading all over Eversong Woods. No, we also have data mining called Druid Cat Legacy and Druid Cat Form that quite literally is the Night Elf Druid Cat form, but it's recolored to be colors that Blood Elves might use. So we've got red lynxes and stuff like that, which heavily matches fan concept art that we've had for years of what a Blood Elf cat form might look like. What might be the most interesting, in my opinion, about that isn't just that it says Druid cat form in the file name for this model, but the fact that it is different from the new Arathi Lynx model. It's more buff and bulky. That's the model that also seems to be given to the new Lynx Loa we see in Zul'Aman. So if they decide to make Amani Trolls maybe their own allied race down the road, which I'm not sure if they would to begin with, in my opinion they may have just added that body type as an option to regular Trolls going forward, but I digress anyways. This still kind of leaves that door open if they want an Amani Loa of a Lynx, but still to give Blood Elves a Lynx form if this kind of Druid option does happen. At the end of the day, it could also just be additional Druid forms for all Druid races. We don't quite know yet, but it's still interesting that the lore is being set up in a way that further adds to Blood Elf Druids, as well as the fact that the models themselves heavily hint towards Blood Elf Druids coming. Now, I know I made a video earlier on that did talk about the potential lore avenues of Blood Elf Druids, and by extension maybe even Void Elf Druids. Granted, if they do the whole Sunwell, Sunbloom kind of an aspect, I could see them using it as a reason to not give Void Elves Druids at all, and instead be Void Elves got Demon Hunters, Blood Elves will have this more light nature mixture of a Druid, and I think a lot of people would be okay with that if they did the lore kind of in that direction. But anyways, what do you guys think about the potential of Blood Elf Druids finally happening? Let me know.